And now we commemorate the 10-year anniversary of the September 11th attacks on the United States. Those who were just children when terrorists struck a decade ago have now matured into young adults, known as the 9/11 generation. More than half their lives have been defined by the war on terror. In a special report, PBS NewsHour's Judy Woodruff visits a Central Valley town to see how its young residents have been affected by the decades since the attacks.
On that September morning when terrorists struck in New York and Washington, the sun had not yet come up in the small city of Clovis, next to Fresno, in the heart of the state's fertile agricultural belt. By the time households began to stir, horrific images were filling the airwaves.
It was a Boeing 737.
For almost all of the West Coast's younger generation, word came while they were at home, getting ready for school. Reed Helsel, who works on his family's ranch just outside Clovis, was 13 on 9/11 and remembers hearing the news.
In the morning, when I woke up and went downstairs and the news was on, and seeing the first tower hit and the smoke coming out of it, and then as the plane flew into the second one, I remember running upstairs and telling my mom.
Nani Okwalagu, a star track athlete at her Clovis High School and a freshman at Princeton this fall, was just 7 at the time.
I clearly remember waking up that morning. It felt like any other morning, but then I quickly realized that something was not normal, that my mom was on the phone with her sisters and she seemed frightened.
Clovis may be 3,000 miles away from Ground Zero, but it is clear the events of September 11th have affected many here. In December 2001, the community dedicated a permanent memorial to the fallen heroes of 9/11. More than 1,000 New York City firefighters and police officers were on hand for the first of what would become annual remembrances at the site. On a recent summer Sunday, we asked 8 young people who grew up in Clovis or nearby Fresno to join us at Luna Pizzeria to ask them about their memories and the effect 9/11 has had on them. For all, their first take was through the reactions and emotions of parents and other family.
It was really deeply unnerving, unsettling to them because they left Nigeria, a country that's been racked by civil wars and where crime is rampant, for America where they believed they would be safer, more secure, and for something like that to happen here was just very unsettling.
Kristen Torres, in the 7th grade in 2001, recalled sitting in her father's truck before school, listening to the radio and being concerned.
It's all very confusing when you're 12 years old, and I really thought, okay, this happened in New York, this can happen again in California. I was worried that there were going to be more attacks, that this wasn't an isolated event.
For Alyssa Stemler, who was 9 years old on 9/11, it was anything but isolated. Her father, Jim, is a firefighter. For him, for their family, what happened at the World Trade Center had an immediate and powerful emotional element.
We live kind of with a fear that, at any given moment he could be gone. And so I think for him, seeing that reaction, seeing that actually happen somewhere else, was kind of hit home for him, and for us later on that was a big deal to our entire family.
Alyssa's most vivid memory from that time is meeting one of the firefighters featured in one of Ground Zero's most iconic images.
This guy right here, we met him, and I remember that was huge. Even at 9 years old, that was hugely monumental.
Now 19 and studying to go into the music business, Alyssa says 9/11 didn't affect her career choice, but she knows many for whom it did.
Definitely for a lot of my friends and for a lot of my graduating class, a good percentage of them immediately went off to boot camp and started serving in the military. I have so many friends that I had to say goodbye to.
In fact, Clovis is known to have a larger than usual number of its young people to join the military. Nationally, fewer than 7% of those eligible join up. In this area, the percentage is higher. And one high school in town, Buchanan, has the sad distinction of having 8 of its former students lose their lives in the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq, more than any other school in California. Now a police officer, Brandon Robla, was 16 in 2001. Even though he comes from a military family, he says he didn't make up his mind to join up until after the attacks.
As soon as 9/11 came about, it slowly started like, I can do this, you know? And then by the time I was a senior in high school, I couldn't wait to go. I felt like I was missing something and that I needed to hurry up and go to boot camp.
Brandon joined the Marines right out of high school and served 6 months in Iraq in 2005.
I wanted to do something bigger than just me, and the best way that I could do it was to actually join the military and serve my country.
I think 9/11 did shape our generation because it made our generation go into the war, and it's changed everybody that's gone into it. Some of the people coming home, they're not the same, and that's what's changing our generation.
We don't remember what it was like before color-coded alert systems or TSA or hearing on the news about the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. But as far as being marked by it, I don't think that's how we view ourselves. And while we mourn the victims of 9/11 and will always remember it, that was something that was perpetrated on us. And we want to be remembered for what our generation did.
For more of the PBS NewsHour special, America Remembers 9/11, please tune in to KQED Channel 9 on Sunday evening at 8 p.m.